Perilously close to our final session of the morning. It's a fireside chat, but it's a fireside chat with a difference. Thanks to the wonders of technology, it's a fireside chat over a few thousand miles. So, joining us virtually is a gentleman called Felipe Martinez, and I'll tell you who he is in a moment, but first of all I'd like to introduce back on stage Sahil Anand, the founder and managing partner of Cedar-IBSi Capital, who will be conducting this fireside chat with, as I say, Felipe Martinez. Felipe Martinez is the Chief Information Officer and a Management Board Member at Revolut Bank. So if you're a banker in the room, you may want to pay attention to what the man has to say for himself, because arguably Revolut is the world's most successful and largest, certainly largest, you can't argue with that, digital-only bank. And Felipe brings over 25 years of experience in banking with a focus on technology and transformation. He's played pivotal roles in leading banking transformations worldwide, working in countries as diverse as Colombia, Venezuela, Spain, Austria, and the UK. Originally from Spain himself, he started his career in 1997 in Accenture and has worked with firms including Accenture, Santander, and Finastra. So, once again, I will hand over to Sahil Anand.
Thank you, Robin. Me.
Perfectly okay.
Okay, well, welcome, Felipe. I know it's morning for you. This is our last session of the day, but most people are still here, so we're lucky today. We just finished a panel on private equity and venture capital investing in fintech, and I think generally the tone is very positive. Robin introduced Felipe, but obviously for those who aren't familiar with Revolut, which would be surprising, Revolut was founded in 2015. Probably one of the world's only 3 or 4 global, truly global, 38 markets, successful digital-only banks. Currently, well, at its latest round was valued at $45 billion. Felipe plays, every time I meet Felipe, actually, he's a friend. By the way, Felipe is also on the advisory board of our VC fund. So I interact with Felipe quite a bit. Every time I meet him, he has a new role added to him. So he does various things for Revolut. And hopefully we can make this as engaging as possible. What I wanted to start with, Felipe, because in India, the whole definition of digital-only banking and neo-banking isn't clear, actually. From a regulatory perspective, pure play digital-only banks haven't been fully licensed. There are fintechs that call themselves neobanks, using other people's licenses. And so I think a couple of minutes of a crash course on just what is, from one of the leading digital banks in the world, what is a digital-only bank from your definition? And how have you seen that play out for you guys?
No, it's a good question to start with. First of all, I wanted to say thank you very much, obviously, for the invite. And it's always a pleasure to be with you and with this audience. No? I realize that connecting remotely has many advantages, but one disadvantage. I will miss out on the bags with goodies that you are giving out to other speakers.
But I'll give it to you.
So a digital bank, I think probably a short answer could be that it's a completely new way of doing banking. To expand on that response is, I can quote also our founders. They like to say that Revolut is a technology company that happens to do banking. So what we are saying with that sentence is that we basically use all of the modern technology, the modern architecture, all the potential that this modern technology brings in to basically deliver banking services or financial services in a completely different way, exclusively through digital channels, or at least designed, optimized to work best through digital channels. And that is starting with technology, but also that translates, or let's say transpires into also a new type of organization, so that the way that company, that digital bank works is also organized in a different way, more agile, more flexible, more experimental, trying to try new things all the time, not being afraid of failing. So I think these are the components of what make a digital bank. Technology at the center, fully agile organization, trying new things, experimenting, not being afraid of failing, learning from those failures and completely reiterate, adjust, reiterate again.
And I guess you now, have another important milestone that you recently achieved as Revolut, right? Which is the granting of a license, which is something Revolut has waited for a long time in the recent past, right? And this UK banking license obviously took you, it was a 3-year process, and it will now allow Revolut to do many more things and operate much more independently. And like I said, in India, obviously the context is that that whole piece is still being figured out, right? What kind of licenses do these guys need? How do they differ from banks? How do they stay independent? And so can you talk us through a little bit what this means for Revolut, right? In terms of having your own license, and what are the 3 or 4 things that will kind of enable you to do and enable any digital bank to do, I guess, generally?
Yeah, so obviously it's a huge milestone for us to get the banking license in our home country, in the United Kingdom, where we were founded and we started business. I have to say that we have had a full banking license in European Union for about 5 years now. So it has helped us to create and try the playbook of what you do with the full banking license in Europe, where we have 35 plus million customers. But obviously we want to do that in the United Kingdom. It's all very important from our side. So it allows us to do many more products, particularly or especially credit. Once you have this license, you are able to use all the customer money, the customer balances, to be able to lend them and to obviously get a better return on that. But more importantly, do more for our customers. No. Also, the other component when you have a full banking license from a place like the United Kingdom, which is traditionally one of the global centers for financial services, is the trust and reputation that you build. And why is that so important? It is super important for us because we want to become, the longer term vision for Revolut is that we want to become the primary bank of as many customers as possible. And for that, you need to be able to cover as many of their needs as possible. We need to be able to offer more sophisticated products. We've been working for 2 years on mortgages. We are also working on wealth management. So that is the inflection point that is already happening, where our customers no longer see us only as a payments company or as a card that they use when they travel overseas, but they also see us as their primary banking for their daily needs. So that as we get these full licenses, not only in UK, but also in other countries, we know that Mexico, we got one this year, we are working in Colombia, we are working in APAC region as well. So that will allow us to, let's say, fulfill progressively and humbly, because it's a long journey, these global ambitions to become the primary bank of as many customers in as many countries as possible.
And how do traditional banks feel about that, Felipe? So I'm actually jumping questions now, because if you met some of our panelists in the first 2 panels, they would argue that they were all waking up or they've woken up and they're getting very digital savvy. And they're aggressive on the digital banking side. And so from a Revolut perspective, when you're in 38 markets, so you're entering new countries and you want to become the primary bank, what gives a digital only bank like you an edge over traditional banks?
Yeah, so we need to stay humble. I mean, banking is a complex business, no? So we are doing very well, but we like to say that it's still day one for us. Meaning, if we compare us with the traditional banks, they are still much bigger organization. They are still able to cover more sophisticated needs for their customers. But we are faster, we are more agile. So to your question, what's going well for Revolut to allow this growth and this attention that we're bringing? I would say that the number one is customer focus. So we really work on solving real customer issues. So we really focus, we try to put ourselves in the customer's shoes go through a journey, opening an account, applying for a credit, traveling overseas, and we try to identify the pain points. What is not working so well for them? What can we do to improve that experience on those customers? And then that translates into the mindset of all our teams. So the teams basically go through that journey as if they were customers themselves. And they basically are empowered to try and come up with solutions for those pain points. So we run a very agile, very lean organization, very few layers. So we like to say that typically you take any employee, no matter how junior, and in 4 or 5 jumps upwards, you will get to the founders. So that means that we have an organization that is very decentralized, very product customer focused, and with the smaller teams who all of them have a problem, typically a customer problem. Sometimes it's an internal problem, but typically a customer problem to resolve. So that mindset and that kind of organizational structure has helped us a lot. And then on top of that, really, that culture or mindset wouldn't work if you don't have the right talent. No, so we have invested heavily on high talent bar. We have a very tough recruiting process, but we basically evaluate on a quarterly basis the quality of our talent. We invest on them, not only on acquiring them, but also to retain them. So I would say these are the 3 key components, no? Customer focus, the mindset on solving problems for them, and the high talent bar.
And I guess, Felipe, if you look at the data, and I was reading some of this in the last couple of days, there's data that talks about, firstly, how most other, barring a few, Starling is one example, Brazil has an example, but barring maybe 3 or 4 digital-only or pure-play digital banks globally, a lot have shut down over the years and not succeeded. They might have had that customer focus as well. They may have tried to hire good people. What do you think is that secret beyond customer focus, I guess? What do you think has worked out well for Revolut at this scale to enter so many markets and acquire customers? Or what do you think hasn't worked out for people who begin digital-only banks and then for whatever reason don't succeed?
Well, it's true that there have been many players who have tried. I think there have been many more. There have been many who have succeeded, no, in different aspects. I think the main reason why Revolut has perhaps outgrown them in terms of scale is that we had that global ambition from the very beginning. So our founders were clear that they wanted to solve as many problems as possible in as many places as possible. So all the decisions that were made in terms of design the application, but also design the organization, hiring people, from almost the outset, they were made with that in mind. Okay, it was a bold bet. I mean, success is never guaranteed, clearly. But having done that from the beginning, we grew much faster than competitors. Even during the pandemic, where everyone, of course, we had a little bit of a slowdown, but we were able to go through that difficult period in a very healthy condition. So I could say that global ambition and that kind of focus, laser focus into what we wanted to do, our vision and our mission, help us consistently to get where we are here, and hopefully will help us in the future to continue growing.
We spoke about AI in the previous panel, Felipe, and generally through the day, everybody's been positive on AI and very excited. Revolut has already done a great job in acquiring customers digitally in across many countries. And I know in the UK specifically, from when I did my MBA, it's a seamless customer onboarding and acquiring journey. But given all of that, if you can talk about a few ways, either on the user side or on the B2B side, so in terms of how you guys internally are using AI technology to run the bank better, if you can give us maybe 1 or 2 examples on each side, the user and the B2B side, and kind of what your in-house point of view is on AI.
Yeah, I think I have to give a word of caution first, no?
Okay.
Because I think I have not been in any conference, where I am not asked about AI.
Sure.
But the value you can extract from AI or machine learning is only as good as the quality of the data that you feed into the models. So it happens, especially traditional organizations with huge legacy problems, huge data consistency, data quality problems. It happens that they are trying just to force AI engines, AI use cases, without actually having done the housekeeping, that homework of getting the right quality on their data. And then you put, sorry for my French, you put rubbish in, what you get out is not very different, okay? So that is a word of caution before we start talking about the use cases. And it is relevant because at Revolut, because perhaps it was easier for us because we are a younger, more modern organization, we have taken care of the data quality, data consistency from the very beginning. So it helps us to actually try and test the different use cases of AI or machine learning or large language models. Many of them don't work. I mean, I would be lying if I would tell you that everything we try works perfectly, no? But there are some areas where the use of AI is already showing really good positive signs. So the biggest one for us is customer support. So the way we support our customers is through the app, an in-app chat. We rarely do telephone, only for specific cases. We don't have branches. We don't have any other channel. Our main channel by far is the app, and we used to have agents, so people, no? And as we grow so quickly, obviously, having to hire so many agents to support the support functions, to support that function is costly, no? So we started using AI to help optimize that, to reduce cost, but also to improve the quality of the service. And we have been doing that for about a little bit more than a year. And recently we achieved the milestone of more than half of the chats. So more than half of the cases where a customer needs to come to our chat in the app to ask a question or to refer to a particular issue are handled automatically by a bot or a chatbot that uses OpenAI, a large language models, artificial intelligence. So that is not only a good testament to what you can do, but obviously is a very successful use case to save cost in a very large function for us. There are some other use cases, as much as I can share, no, but we use that for fraud prevention, fraud detection. For that you use a lot of data, and obviously if you have a good AI model, you can be more effective, more efficient into identifying potential patterns, potential suspicious transactions. And then we have many other use cases we are exploring, so it can help our sales teams. We are trying to grow significantly on the corporate banking, business banking services. And for that, you need to have sales people, no? You need to have people who go and visit and have a conversation with the business, understand their needs and so on. So there are AI models we are trying that can help those relationship managers to pull up the information, all the data that is relevant for a particular business or prospect that they are visiting or they are meeting with. And the AI models are really clever, are getting very smart into synthesizing all the huge information that might be available publicly about a particular company to present that information in a structured way, in a way that can be consumed very effectively by the sales people. Without having to spend much time because it's done automatically by the AI model.
Felipe, I know Revolut, at least from people I know who use it a lot, takes pride in deep levels of personalization on the interface, on the app, during the onboarding. Obviously Indian banks are now going down that journey last couple of years on as much hyper personalization as they can do, whether it's for their corporate banking customers or for retail. Can you tell us what's gone well for Revolut on hyper personalization, whether you guys have a limit that you want to get to, whether you think that there's a certain amount of hyper personalization that may be too much and you don't need to do, And then how you balance that with all the data privacy, because you're also the chief information officer, right? And that word information is important. And how do you balance hyper-personalization with all the guidelines, especially in the EU, right? Because that began earlier around data privacy and GDPR and all of that.
Yeah, so you are right that you don't need to personalize your offerings all the time. Some customers have a simple need, and they are happy enough to have the standard vanilla proposition, and actually that helps them and helps us, Revolut as well, because it makes the service that you need to provide more homogeneous and the standard and easier to understand, easier to deliver. No? And you are also right that obviously data privacy is an important component. No? We have GDPR, which is the name of the regulation that we've got in Europe, and it's an important one. We take data privacy very seriously. And the foundation for that, I would say, is first building the trust on customers, showing how, if they share the data with us, how we can deliver them value, how we can serve their needs better. And therefore, after that, getting their consent. No, I think it was one of the IBS conferences in London last year. I used the example of Google Maps. No,
yeah.
That day I remember there was a huge strike on the trains.
Yeah.
I couldn't take my train to the venue, so I got a friend to drive me to the place, and we were a bit nervous because we are not sure whether we were making it on time, because obviously the traffic was really bad because there were no trains, and we use Google Maps. I mean, it makes sense, no? You put that. Imagine, Google Maps. You get there, they automatically knows, the app automatically knows where you are. You are asked where do you go to, where do you want to go, at what time, and it's natural that you say, okay, I want to go to the places before this time. Naturally, you don't even ask yourself. Imagine a bank that comes to you and tells you, where are you today? Where do you want to go? You would ask, like, why do you want to know that? Why do you need this information? But you don't ask Google Maps. Why? So you need to be very clear, very natural, very obvious in what are you going to do with that information, and obviously prove that you are delivering value with that data.
You mentioned people and being 4 levels away from Nick and the leadership. And this morning we had the head of HR for the HDFC Bank group, which is a lot of people, and we spoke a little bit about the importance of talent and the kinds of talent. You and I both know that many Tier 1 banks in India also, like Kotak, I don't know if Shekhar is still here, and globally have moved to this model of also hiring their CTOs and their tech talent from the Amazons and Metas and the big tech companies of the world, with the thinking that these are people who understand new tech the best, they understand customer journeys well, they're agile. But then some of them struggle obviously because they don't have that running a bank context of 20 years or 25 years or 30 years, right? So when you guys recruit at Revolut, which is a global digital-only bank, how do you and how does Nick and the leadership team look at talent attraction and acquisition, and what skills do you guys look for to run such a bank?
Yeah, so as always, as with everything in life, the secret is on finding the right balance, no? So you cannot run a bank with 100% of people coming from Amazon or Google, but you cannot run a digital bank only with 100% people coming from traditional banks, okay? So you need to find the right balance. You need to bring more technology expertise, more modern technology expertise. Sometimes it comes from the big tech companies. Sometimes it comes from unassuming founders or people who have been building a small startup. Even if the startup was not successful, they went through the process of having to choose the infrastructure, having to choose the technology, the databases, having to write the software. So these are all experiences that we value. And of course, we also value experience from traditional bankers, if you like, people who have been at banks and understand the regulation, understand what the products are, so they bring that experience of having tried, having failed, having succeeded with different product launches in the banking space. So that's the secret for that. And then how do you filter for quality? We really have a very tough recruiting process. I was referring to it before, but it's done in-house and it's done by our best performers in each of the areas. So we have a skills interview, we have a problem-solving interview, a bar-raising interview. If we are hiring for a manager, senior manager, a people management interview. And we get our best people to actually interview for them, and we also compensate for that to them. So we give them bonus depending on how the people who they recruit do when they come to us. So I think that process has worked very well in terms of ensuring that we get all the right quality in our candidates, but also later that we retain them, because that is a bigger problem, I would say. It is difficult to find the right talent, but sometimes it's even more difficult to keep them motivated, fully engaged, and retain them because it's a tough market out there. And just as a figure, I think we have reached the mark recently, some months ago, of surpassing 1 million applicants to Revolut. 1 million. When I read about it, I didn't believe it. I had to ask the HR guys, is this a typo? Did you mean 100,000? Is that a zero extra? And they said, no, 1 million, here's the data. So I think we like to, we could always do better, but we like to think that our recruitment process, our talent acquisition process is very effective and is one of the secret, let's say, one of the key ingredients for us to succeed. Mm-hmm.
You spoke about million, Felipe, so I'll speak about billion. Revolut is valued at $45 billion at its latest round. It's probably one of the 5 most valued fintech, well, maybe 10 most valued fintechs globally. I know your role may not require you to get involved in that kind of stuff, but do you have anything to say on just from the founder's lens, or just where you see things going from here and how big you want to become?
Well, as you say, it's a little bit far from my remit. Anything I could say would be guessing. So probably the guys who were in the previous panel discussion are better placed than me to do valuations. What is true is that the market is growing. It's a huge market, and the potential is immense, not only for Revolut, but for many other competitors who are doing well, and even traditional banks who could try to emulate and would invest into the right technology and the right talent. So it's a big opportunity, but I cannot really comment on who will be the winner or the loser, what will be the valuations. Yeah, and India is a huge market.
So,
on that.
That's my next question. So that's the final question for the day. Now we have about 50-60 people here, mostly bankers. And you've announced plans to enter India in 2025. I know you have a small team here. We know some of them. Can you talk us through what the plan is for India? What product? I mean, as much as you can share. What products? What market? And how you will localize a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, with our global ambitions, we cannot not be in India. The most populous country in the world, super tech savvy, so it is a must for us. That's for sure. I would correct you on something. You said we have a small team in India. You know which is the country where we have more employees? Revolut has more employees. India. We have 3,000 people, more than 3,000 people hired in India. But it's true that they work globally. They work on our global teams to support other countries. So the small team, you are right, is the one that is working on the domestic proposition. Sure. But we have more than 3,000 colleagues in India, and it's making a difference. So the technology, the operations, and even the finance, which is we have found really good talent to manage our treasury and finance. So it is a country that is pivotal, is central for our ambition. We do have already a license for, I think it's called 82. It basically allows us to do Forex and remittances. We have also a license in principle, approved in principle, to do something you call PPI, so prepaid payments instruments. On that, I've been told, I didn't know, but I did a little bit of homework. I've been told that we are part of a very short list of PPI issuers, and very few of them actually are foreign companies. So that shows the investment that we are doing there. And very few of the companies that can offer both domestic payments and international payments. But of course, in order to get there, in order to be able to operationalize those licenses, we need to do a big investment. We started like 3 years ago, and we are really investing a lot in many different areas, but probably to illustrate this, one of them is technology. So in India, as you all know, well, there is a strict regulation in terms of data localization. We need to have a golden source. We need to have the golden customer data in India, located infrastructure located in India. Okay, and that means that obviously, although in all the other regions we have a single instance with Google Cloud, which we need to replicate part of our infrastructure. This is a really huge investment for us, one that makes sense because of the potential of India, but shows the commitment, the longer-term commitment that we have in the market.
And I guess last question on this, Felipe, is whether the plan is to do this with a partner in India on the ground, a large group or a financial institution, or to come localize as much as you can yourselves?
It's a mix. I mean, obviously, our strategy is always to be the owners of our destiny, meaning trying to do it ourselves. But obviously, where there are partnership opportunities that make sense, either tactically because they would allow us to go faster, or strategically because they are clearly the market leader, and there are synergies to work together, and perhaps there is no point of trying to replicate where the market leader is already doing things great, and it's better to partner. So we explore both opportunities. It depends on the use case. It depends on what we want to do.
Any audience questions? If you can raise your hand. Okay, Felipe, hope you can hear this.
Hi, Felipe, you can hear me? Hi, I'm
Absolutely.
I head the marketing at Clarify Customer Experience. So I was just curious to know, what are the top 2 or 3 reasons of dissatisfaction for your customers? I mean, you always talk about good things. I just want to know, for a digital bank, what would be a reason of frustration or something that your customers would feel? I hate talking to a chatbot or an AI person. I love going to a bank, and 5 minutes I get my job done. But for a digital bank, I just want to know what would be your top 2 or 3 reasons for dissatisfaction and what you're doing about it.
Yeah, so I would say, I would refer back to basics, because the basics are the same whether you are a traditional bank or a digital bank. And the basics in this case, what customers want. Customers want solutions that are simple, easy to understand, fast, convenient processes, and cheaper, or free if possible. So what are reasons for our customers to complain to us when we deliver a process that is too complex, that is not clear, not very intuitive, it's not easy to understand how they need to follow it? Obviously, we have incidents as well. I mean, we are very much around technology, so I cannot tell you that our technology always works perfectly, because that never happens. So when there is an incident and something is not available or something is not working as expected, there is a bug on the app. So these are typically the reasons for that. I think that the difference, this is similar to any organization, but I think the difference would be on how we are structured, how we are organized to actually react on that super fast. Take that customer feedback of what is not working well for them. We have all this data real time where we have tags and constantly checking what is the customer's complaints or what they tell us through the chat, so that we can react very quickly. So the difference is not so much about having problems, because you will always have them, but how fast we solve them, and also how fast we put them into the roadmap of the teams to make sure that the true root cause is resolved and things don't reoccur. Hopefully this answers your question.
Thank you. One more question. The Marwan behind. Felipe, I have to say this has actually been pretty seamless for 30 minutes. I feel like you're sitting here. I hope people agree. It's been pretty good.
Totally agree. Hi, Felipe. I'm Estefania from Mexico. Actually, I work for a company called Pay and Wiz. And even though I'm in another type of market, I would like to know how in your company, in the Revolut, how you manage a global platform accordingly to each region compliance and technology and mandates. Because as you have mentioned in this discussion, so you got the Mexican, I could say about that, the Mexican license, which is the kind of fintech that it is getting that it is really proud because it is 2 years job, at least, no more, no less than that. So how you are doing your mark accordingly with your platform and the compliance on each kind of region? No.
Thanks for the question, and felicitaciones, Estefania. So it's a good question. So what we try, because of our global ambitions and because of the complexity, we had to create different instances per country. We are already in 38 countries, but we want to be in many more. From the outset, we came up with an architecture with Google as well. So Google has been a partner from the very beginning, Google Cloud, but also other solutions that we get from them, to basically have an app or systems that can be configured, even if in a single instance, can be configured, localized to as many countries as possible with, as many granular components as possible so that you can actually use the same instance and then basically configure what you use, how to use each of the components if they are relevant for each of the countries. So at the moment, only with the exception of India, in all the countries we are present, we actually serve them from the same instance in Europe, from the same app. So whether you are in Spain, in Poland, in the UK, in Australia, in Japan, in Singapore, just to mention a few of the countries we are present, in the US, you go to the Apple Store, and the app you download is the same version of the app. The infrastructure behind the app, the backend systems behind the app are the same. The trick is that they are highly configurable, and then you can set them up to work and to be compliant with each of the countries we are in. This is a tough job. I'm not saying this is easy. That's why sometimes we need to invest heavily on also local teams to understand the compliance, the regulatory reporting needs, how you connect with the different systems. We are working hard for Mexico as well, working very closely with the regulator there, the Banco de Mexico, is it called? Yeah. And to integrate with their payment systems, integrate with their reporting mechanisms. But this is possible. I mean, with the modern technology, you can do it in a way that is configured and reduce complexity. If not, you end up with a lot of legacy systems with a big list of systems different per country that then it's much more difficult to maintain in the future, because in the future they will just deviate more and more and more, and then maintaining them will be a nightmare.
Thank you. Felipe, from everybody here, thank you so much for your time and for joining in. And next time, we hope to see you here in person. In any case, you'll be here more often, hopefully next year. And I will give you your goodie bag when I see you.
Yeah, perfect.
Take
Thanks
care.
a lot. Thanks everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.